I believe we've started. It's Bob and Zip. You ready to go, Zip?
Just Bob and Zip?
Well, for now.
The
It's
cast
funny,
of non-present characters.
people don't know that you and I do a show with just the two of us every week. And then on this live stream, well, it gets busy. And you were like, you lay back. And now you have to talk more. So this will be fun. Are we ready to launch the show? Oh, by the way, coming up on the show, well, I'll give you the coming up in just a second. Are we ready to hit the jingle and launch?
I think we should.
I think so. There's something funky about my... Here it is. Yeah, there's something funky about my jingle producer. Folks, I'm sorry we were a little bit late. And as it turns out, we have some technical difficulties. This happens when you don't pay anybody. I mean, when you have an all-volunteer army. I want to play the jingle because it'll at least... Oh, here it is. Okay. Are we ready? We're ready.
The Bob and Zip Show with Dan Kelly.
It was planned so well. We even had the show segmented out into different portions, much like, Dateline or 60 Minutes.
They said the same thing about the Hubble telescope, and look what happened.
Yeah, that's right. That was the billions of dollars boondoggle. Anyway, Ed got delayed in traffic. Spike knew that he wasn't coming on till 5, which caused him to think, oh, it'll be fine if I get there at 5:15. And several other... It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's Bob and Zip, and Ed Kelly will join us shortly. Spike O'Neill is on his way. Should be here in just a little bit. We will have Kermit Apio, who is a comedian who has something in common with both me and Barack Obama. Can you guess what it is?
You were born in the same hospital in Hawaii.
You did homework?
Isn't it amazing when I do show prep?
Oh, well, I know how... I know how you prep, actually. Zip watches Jeopardy every night. And you've got me started watching it. First, just by accident, it came on. And I actually said, well, Zip watches this. What is the appeal in watching human Rolodexes of information, sit there and answer extremely difficult questions that I have no clue about? And I figured out what the appeal is.
All right. I'm all ears. I'd love to hear this.
Every once in a while, I have a right answer. This is the same thing that poor people every once in a while think they might win megabucks. And so when I have a right answer, I think, oh, I'm on a roll. I just got 1. Maybe I could get 2. And then, boom, reality hits hard and my public school education comes home to roost. But it is interesting, and I wonder, do some people on Jeopardy, do they study, right?
It's one thing I've noticed, and this is really true. If I think back to my grade school and high school days, the people that frequently do well on Jeopardy, and I mean this with no disrespect, but they were the ones that kind of the nerdy folks who, had a pocket saver and things like that, and they make thousands of dollars. That's their vengeance. That's their comeback.
Yeah. When you say nerdy, you're not referring to the high-tech nerd. You're referring to a previous generation's version of nerdy, which was the pocket protector, the glasses very similar to the ones you're wearing right now. You could lose the porn stash, but what you're referring to is the dweeb who nobody really liked, who became an accountant or went into banking.
Right.
If you go into banking, you literally print money. If you become an accountant, you just have a good head for facts and figures, those kinds of people.
Travis is right. Your audio is breaking up a little bit there.
I could turn my audio down. Is that better, Travis?
A little distorted and a little crackling.
Once again, it's an all-volunteer army. Travis has been appointed head of IT and engineering. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's just a funny
I can turn it
crackling.
down even more if that's better.
I don't think it was so much overmodulated as
The mic has got a problem.
it sounds like a voice over internet protocol issue, if you will.
Well, we're just going to have to plow
Yeah, but
along,
not
folks.
Jeopardy.
We are going to plow along. So back to the live stream here. I started watching Jeopardy, and I'm not going to continue because it's way above my pay grade of having a brain.
You have to watch it enough nights because every once in a while they'll just lob you softballs. It'll be like famous classic rock artists and then types of candy that rot your teeth, things like that.
Things that you and I have some experience with.
Yes.
So that is the appeal then, that you, at various times, much like playing at a casino on a slot machine, every once in a while you get that adrenaline of being a winner.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Or you walk away feeling, wow, I'm not quite as thick-headed and lost as many brain cells as I thought I did back in my day.
That's the senior citizen happy hour definition of a winner. Okay.
That's well put.
Yes, that has been interesting to me. Lisa and I are also watching some other television that when you run out of favorite shows, which if you're retired is easy to do, and we binge watch a couple hours every night, you start to experiment with stuff. Well, maybe I'll like this, or it had good reviews. And so we started watching a show that's totally not aimed at our demographic. And at first I wasn't even sure, like watching a show with your spouse, like Jeannie is your spouse, watching a show with your spouse, there's always this little dance that you do. It's like, is it chick flicky enough for her? Because, we're not going to watch. I'd love to watch the new Lord of the Rings stuff. I'd love to watch all the Star Wars. Like, there's tons of Star Wars series, Boba Fett, and all of these other things. I'll never get to see it. But I try to find shows that have something in it for me and something in it for her. And usually, a sexy drama will work for both of us because, much like Jeopardy.
Depending on the category.
If we watch a little bit of sex, we go, I remember that.
Let me offer this up. Last night I watched 2 or 4 episodes, I think, of a episodic series on, I think it's Paramount Plus, Mayor of Kingstown, with Jeremy Renner, who is recovering from a snowcat accident as we speak.
So, Mayor of Kingstown? Is it about an actual mayor?
It's about a family that it's a fictitious town in Michigan. Ed probably knows about this series. And essentially, the entire town revolves around the economy of a state prison. So it's really interesting, but it's incredibly violent. And again, it led to more severe insomnia. I did not sleep well.
So are you watching this with Jeannie, or are you watching it by yourself?
She faded out. It was too graphic for her.
And by the way, that's a horrible feeling. If I start something with Lisa, every once in a while she'll go, no. We are the knights who say no. I'm not watching this. And I'll be like, but we're 2 episodes in. Give it one more episode. But when she decides, like, she'll just go, no, not watching that. And sometimes it's a good drama or detective show or something that, I'm into it. And then she goes away. And sometimes I'll watch another episode, but then I get lonely. And so the one who gives in more, and maybe you don't do this, is me. I watch way too many chick flicks. I watch shows that shouldn't appeal to me, but I know she loves them. The dumbest one of all time was called The Affair. Did you ever watch that?
I did not. I'm not a big fan of that
Of
ilk.
affairs. You always say
Basic.
the same thing. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that banging other people's wives thing. That's so The Affair is literally follows the exploits of a dog, a Bill Clinton-esque at his worst. Exaggerate all you want
Skirt
about.
chaser.
By the way,
A skirt chaser.
yes. Oh, I mean, in this particular show, he's not a skirt chaser until one day, and he's having dinner at a diner with his family, wife and 2 kids. And his wife, I forget the actress, but she's really a great actress, very attractive. She's someone I like seeing in a show. And this waitress, who's attractive enough, but she just catches his eye and he catches her eye. And the next thing you know, it's like we're on the Discovery Channel. And I don't want to give too much away, in case you ever want to watch it. By the way, Lisa loved this. I just kept going. It's almost like watching a horror film where you go, "Don't look under the bed." I kept looking at this guy going, "That's really dumb. You're going to get caught. No good will come from it." You know what I mean? I'm like imaginary wingman to the guy having the affair. And the thing went for like freaking 18 seasons. And eventually I got hooked because there was enough gratuitous hot sex and nudity that, it just sparks a little nostalgia.
A glimpse look into the past.
No, it's good. It's good. Anyway, so the latest show we're watching, which is something I did want to mention to people out there, because it's got me thinking about a few things. It's a hit right now. It's in its 2nd season. I believe it's on Netflix, and it's called Emily in Paris. You don't even watch the huge shows, so you
Phil
wouldn't know.
Collins' daughter stars in it.
Classic rock trivia. I'll take classic rock trivia for 800, Alex.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Who is replaced Alex now? Who's hosting Jeopardy right now?
Ken Jennings, who was one of the longest running champs.
He's now a hoster. Okay.
Yes.
So so that's a little bit of trivia. The gal who plays Emily, I don't know her name. She is a smart, sassy, sexy 30-year-old who's working in America, and her advertising firm sends her over to Paris because the person who was going to go to Paris and work in their sister firm, I guess she suddenly gets pregnant and she can't go. And Emily is like, doesn't want to go to Paris, but she goes. And so I'll tell you what the show is. It's Mary Tyler Moore with an Instagram account.
Okay.
She gets to Paris, nobody likes her, she can't speak the language, and then it's, "You're gonna make it after all." And so at first, and it's weird watching a kid show, because a 30-year-old to us is a kid. Because first off, watching young single people, go through the courtship and mating and all of that stuff. You remember that stuff, right? Watching them do that you feel a little bit voyeuristic.
I'm not a fan of that voyeuristic stuff.
Is that what you're going to say? Anyway,
I was thinking that, but
you know me, I let it all hang out. So you feel, but I'm watching with my wife, and I'm like, I'm waiting for her to say,
Yeah, this is.
And by the way, it's not gratuitous. It's actually very little, and it's very chaste. They show her dating a guy that she shouldn't be dating, and oh, it happens, and then they cut to the next morning when all the uncomfortableness happens. So it's in that way, it's very much like it's a situational comedy. But here's why it's fun. I don't understand 30-year-olds at all. 30 is even young compared to my kids now. And they have grown up in a time where instant communication, virality, going viral, oversharing, worrying about who you are. Like, do you know what I mean by that? You
Yes.
don't, because you don't post on Facebook.
I love how you answer.
You don't worry how you come across because you don't
Rather than
come
say,
across.
Zip, do you post on Facebook? You just say, Zip, you don't post on.
Well, you don't, do you? No, you
Not often.
lurk. Yeah,
Happy
you're
birthday, condolences,
happy birthdays,
congratulations on
exactly,
achievements.
exactly. But most people today on Facebook, most people are they are their own media brand and empire. Even Jeannie, even Lisa, even it could be my brand is that I love my grandkids. My brand is that I am involved in the community. My brand is that I always take impeccable pictures of the dinners I eat at fancy restaurants, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a picture of myself with my grandfather, who was my mentor, when I was 7 years old. And it's the only picture I have between the age of like 4 and 12. One picture. Right?
Is that the one where you kind of had Brill cream and everything? And you were all
Yeah, you
dressed
saw
up?
that. Yeah,
Yeah, I saw that.
I had won a science fair, and he had done most of the work. We built a model of the solar system with like rotating planets on strings and a kind of a little umbrella whirligig.
Which is right in your wheelhouse.
Oh,
That's
I was
what
the
you
nerd.
know.
Yeah, I didn't have the pocket protector or the glasses that you own. But so anyway, back to the show. I found we finished 2 seasons, and there's one more. In the show, you get to see what our opinion of French people is and what their opinion of Americans is. And by the way, it's a scathing view that Europeans, many of them have, of Americans. We eat bad
Can't
food.
imagine why.
Oh, we eat bad food. We don't have any appreciation for art. We consume pop culture junk. We're basically we're the trailer trash of the world. Do you have an
The
opinion on that?
cattle-like consumers of the planet.
That's right.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. It's tough.
That is as far out on a limb as you ever go.
Well, it's true.
It is.
It
Yeah,
absolutely is
we're not particularly cultured here in America.
Our media tastes kind of set that up for us.
Yeah. It's junk food and fast food, whether it's media, art, food.
Instant gratification, cheap
Yep.
jokes,
We're spoiled.
sophomoric humor, all the stuff that actually made us both a living all these years.
So we're watching this show, and on the show, her Instagram account is her lifeblood, being in the PR industry, and deals with lots of sensitive artists. And it's typical of Mad Men, or I mentioned Mary Tyler Moore. Those, and it suddenly occurred to me, there are no great situational comedies anymore that we all share. Remember Cheers?
Not many. Yeah.
Remember MASH? Remember All in the Family? For the younger generation, they mostly have unplugged from TV networks that would cram the same 3 shows, and you'd have to pick one out of the 3. So you'd choose a comedy, a drama, or whatever the third, a game show, whatever the third category was. But now most young people, and this may be a problem in their lives, they don't have any long form comedy. There's no comedies at the movie theaters. They're going to see superheroes, Mad Men, I mean, X-Men, Spider-Man sequels, frickin' Avatar. There's some funny moments, but it's not a comedy. And so as I'm watching the show, I thought, well, this is a smart comedy commenting on what it's like to be 30. To be at that point, and by the way, in our generation, that point before you committed to someone would be about 25. But now it's at least 30. No one gets married before 30, right? You don't
Yeah.
know. You know any 30-year-olds?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Not that I hang with on a regular basis, but
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know any. And they're foreign to me. It's as if I'm elderly.
Well, statistically, you are.
Let's move on.
problem.
I've had enough of this topic. Anyway, that's the show. It's called Emily in Paris, and it is like spying on a different generation. Before we bring on our headliner, as they say in the comedy industry, and Spike is taking full advantage of that 20 minutes he was going to be late. Before we bring on Kermit, let me let's skip ahead to this. Oh, yeah, let's look at some of the comments. I have not even looked at you folks who are watching us live. Here's Travis. I haven't watched any TV except for the Seahawks. So sorry for you, Travis. If they happen to be televised for 3 years anymore, I only watch the YouTube channels and documentaries. By the way, YouTube is best
YouTube
channel.
is Encyclopedia Britannica for this generation.
It's pretty much that, but it's also any concert I want to see. It's an archive. So much. Bob sounding crappy. That was 513. Hopefully it's better. Is it better?
You got a crackle in there. Some kind of a
Okay, we'll
issue.
figure that out. Comedy shows went by the wayside just like variety shows did. And now all we have is comedy clips. That's Travis again. Modern Family was good. Yes, good show. Simpsons, most intelligent show on TV. Yes. Is there a modern Simpsons? I don't think so.
Have you ever watched Mom, the series Mom? Which is
No.
about two recovering alcoholic mother and daughter.
That sounds like fun.
It's
I can
actually
relate.
pretty funny, and it's well written. And it usually has a message, not like Leave It to Beaver or anything, but it's got there's usually an uplifting underlying tone through it.
Is that on a streaming service or is it on a
I don't know if they don't shoot it anymore, so it's on. You can find it on cable for sure.
Your webmaster's wife wants to be on the show if he won't. Oh, that's Nancy. That's our webmaster, David's wife. She wants to be on the show, David. David does not want to be on the show. He sits there in the break room. You can put these up, David, if you want. The audio is still crackly. There's nothing I could do about it this week.
Mom is dumb.
Yeah, it's tough. Mom is dumb. That's the cool thing about saying anything with instant media feedback. You could say, Einstein had some great theories.
He was a whack job with a strange haircut.
It's just okay. Here comes Spike O'Neill. Spike, you made it. How are you?
Good. I'm a whack job with a weird haircut.
Good timing. Perfect.
Einstein-esque.
Yeah,
Let me,
yeah, yeah.
pardon me, probably whilst I adjust all this shit and make a lot of noise.
All right, we're going to bring on Kermit Apio in a little while, and I was afraid we were going to be the smallest room he's ever played to with only two of us. So.
No, that wouldn't be it. I've actually seen Kermit live. I'm kidding. I'm trying to. Sorry, I ran in here. So
No, that's okay.
yeah, I've had a fun day. Yeah.
What's new with you, Spike?
I'm helping my disabled's the wrong word. My physically challenged cousin deal with a rat contractor who's an absolute shark criminal who's ripped off people and being sued in 3 different states.
Do I know this person? Have we spoken of her in the past?
It was Kayla. It's Kayla Wheeler.
Yep, I remember her.
Remember,
Yep.
my cousin Kayla was born with one leg. Oh, excuse me. Let me settle in here. Cousin Kayla was born with one arm and no legs, triple congenital amputee, and it was a
Tough.
complete surprise to her parents. And she was. They sued the hospital because they have an ultrasound VHS recording of her father saying, "Well, where are the legs?" "Oh, they're just right there. You can see them folded up. She's just curled up, making herself comfortable." So when she was
Oof.
born with one arm and one half arm and no legs, it was a shock to be sure. And they, took legal action against the hospital, not because they would have made any different choices, but because that option was taken away from them through negligence. So they had to make life ready for a person who will be challenged their entire life. And I am now transitioning to proper pronouncing because the birth of that child was the second most shocking thing their parents have ever been through, because they have transitioned to K Wheeler and they identify as non-binary and are actually pursuing surgery to make the physical change to K, a male.
Okay.
So K,
Now,
who is a
if I
Paralympic,
recall, there's a heartwarming story here in that they have adjusted incredibly well and had an incredibly positive attitude to
K is
the
K is a world
challenges.
K is a world record holder Paralympic swimmer in
Yeah.
their body classification. Kay has skied and played softball and done robotics camp. She was the president of the Harry Potter fan club at the University of Washington, where they graduated with 2 degrees and are taking a gap year before starting their LSATs to become a disabilities advocate attorney.
Wow.
Part of Kay's trust fund is to is being used to. They bought a condo, a ground floor condo that's completely accessible, and they had taken some of the trust fund money, which is being managed by a conservatorship, and hired a contractor who is an absolute piece of garbage. And I've gotten involved with it already about Thanksgiving time when the work was supposed to be completed. Kay travels to see friends of similar physical limitations around the country on a regular basis, having met through different conventions and organizations. And the work was contracted to be finished in the 3 weeks Kay was out of town. Well,
Didn't happen.
when Kay got back to town, a third of the work had been done, most of it done poorly. This guy who was already been given a deposit was asking for more money because he blah 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 blah, blah, one story after another.
I know this kind of contractor, by the way. My son ran into one of these guys too. Hey,
It's tough.
here's a thought. Here's a thought. Since you have a radio show and we have the internet, let's use these torches and pitchforks for good.
Funny you should mention that because I am not a person to I won't act half cocked, but I know I find that hard to believe.
I
I've
do.
got more than half a cock to play with. I know that seems credible. No, actually, our dear friend, the attorney, Sean, has already been speaking with Kay and advising Kay on legal options and
Okay.
eventual outcomes. My dear friend is the sheriff of Pierce County, and this contractor happens to also do some work in Pierce
So
County. So
you've got
I have,
one big torch and one big pitchfork instead of an angry mob. That's a good way to
yeah.
go. I like that.
Well, and last week Jesse Jones, consumer advocate in Seattle, he got involved too because nobody messes with my family. This is great. I'm really getting to use the power of what I've worked for 30 years to just to
And
get
you're
up this
back on the
guy's
radio.
ass.
By the
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
I miss having that. I have to be honest with you. I both love no responsibility because you carry a huge weight of responsibility on your shoulders with your media commitments and people rely on you. So that part I don't miss. But having the having the Rolodex.
The ability to
And by
wave
the
a
way,
flag.
fortunately, there's no one 30 years old watching our show because they would have no freaking idea what a Rolodex is. I don't know if you heard the previous segment. I was talking about a show that Lisa and I are watching called Emily in Paris. And you probably...
I've heard of it, but haven't seen it.
It's a really smart show about 30-year-olds. who are
Okay.
really almost like an invasive species to the planet, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know anything about them, and they seem to be taking over.
Algae.
Old people seem to be losing their jobs, and
Yeah.
I guess they're going to run it. And I apologize first because we left it in shit shape, and we shouldn't get our security deposit back. But you people who
Is
are
that
running
Gen
around,
Z?
yeah.
Is
No,
that
well,
Gen
30
Z?
is
No?
Z. Yeah. So millennials are about, I think, mid 30s. There's a specific
Yeah.
cutoff, which doesn't really matter. But yeah, they're a little younger than millennials.
Because Gen X
And
followed the boomers, right? That was 65
yes,
was the last boomer, and then 85, I
and
think,
then
was the last
millennials.
Gen X. Then millennials started at 85, and they rolled through 2005.
My sons are
Ish.
considered millennials, born 83 and 85. So I think it's
Okay.
just
Before
below
the
that.
mid 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone will correct us. But anyway, it's, it's a whole, our world is as different to them as stagecoaches, cowboys, and Indians was to us.
Wow. It's that's not wrong at all. It's shocking to think that when people say, well, the difference between now and like World War II is the difference between World War II almost and like the Civil War. And that's how much time that's the kind of span.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
you put things in that kind of perspective of time, it's like, holy shit. The
All right.
80s were 40 years ago.
There's a couple things I want to ask you about. I want to add this topic because it's such a part of your history coming back on the radio, and we've talked about this on this podcast before you
Nepotism?
came back. Nepotism? No, no.
Oh,
Did you have? I didn't think your family could help you at all.
no,
Yeah.
no.
That's me inviting Andrew on. Although we're taking a different tack this week. We're having another comic on. We're gonna have multiple comics because he's real busy and it'll be good. Anyway, no, you talked about this probably a good year ago, and now it's on the evening news, and it's a huge story. There is a movement to outlaw gas stoves
Mhm.
for your home. And as you start to read about it,
You realize there's really not, and that's a scare tactic being used by conservative media. Did I cut to the end of the book too fast? I'm sorry.
no, and by the way, this is going to be tough for us because I've more or less checked out of politics. If something even has a political bent to it now, I kind of tune it out because I know it's only going to be one-sided. And it's not that I don't care about each side's arguments, but I've decided that both sides are BS. And so until I investigate thoroughly both sides, which takes time that most Americans don't have, I can't so I don't jump to those conclusions.
Okay.
And and there's a touch of virtue signaling in that too. I
like
know, and
that.
I apologize.
Yeah, it's nice. No, Gen Z, be proud.
Yeah. No, so in the reading I've done, it boils down to some safety studies that say having a gas stove in your home kitchen is linked to health problems and without proper ventilation, et cetera, et cetera.
One in 5 children raised in a home with a gas stove has the asthma.
All right.
One in 5.
And what I remember is before you got back on the radio, you were doing PR for natural gas, right?
Yeah, it was 4 gas.
So your job, forget politics for a second.
Mhm.
Your job was to say a chicken in every pot and a gas flame under it, right?
That's right. No, it's how I got to that junction. It was so funny. I was totally I was contacted by the local pipe fitters union because the city of Seattle had implemented a ban on natural gas being used to heat space, like space heating and water
Yep,
heating
yep,
in new
yep.
construction, both multifamily, multi-story, and commercial. And the pipe fitters saw that coming down the tracks as a livelihood impediment
It's
to
a-
gas pipe fitters.
It's a crack in the door through which they
Yeah.
would eventually try to stop gas. And now they're doing it, by the way. That was
Well,
correct.
well, it was first the city of Seattle implemented this change, then the King County did this change, and now the state of Washington has done this change, and they haven't done it through legislative or through the ballot. They've done it through code. They've done it through building code, and they have now passed building code restrictions on natural gas in new construction for commercial and multifamily, multi-story.
So-
And then to meet their Green Deal, They will retroactively require this on all existing properties. That's how the virus spreads.
By the way, building codes.
Mhm.
That's another invasive species characteristic of our
Completely.
society because building
Completely
codes,
hidden away from public eyes and
no checks and balances.
agenda specific. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the old days when your house fell down, it was on you.
Usually directly on you.
Yeah.
And only her shoes stuck out. And you had to get them back to get home.
Okay.
Well, it's fun. So as I started this project for the Pipe Fitters Union, we did some research into the marketplace and had a group called the Oxford Universal. It's over in England, but not Oxford University. They did, and it's been a while. It's been a year, so I apologize if my details are a little fuzzy. We did some impact studies on the loss of gas to the community and found out that it would disproportionately affect the BIPOC community and the low-income community, communities of color, and people of low income. And we realized after I sat in on several different city council meetings in Seattle and the smaller shoreline, Kirkland, Vashon Island, Bellevue, those smaller communities outside of Seattle. And nobody cared that pipe fitters were going to lose livelihood.
No.
Well, they can just retrain. It doesn't matter if you've got 20 years in the trade, just start over and retrain. So we figured out that the King County passed a law that said every new ordinance, every new ecological study had to make sure every new law proposed had to benefit, if it not benefit, at least not harm minority communities and low income communities. Every new piece of legislation proposed had to either benefit or not harm. So we found out pretty quickly through the study that eliminating gas as a fuel resource disproportionately affected communities of color, because as you take away gas, which is a third of Seattle's energy base, it all goes to hydroelectric, which means the demand goes up, which means the rates go up. And when your power bill goes from 150 to $300 a month, it disproportionately affects your income, especially if you're low income. It's a bigger chunk of your pie.
So did this work?
No.
Sorry.
It's funny.
It sounded like you had it all figured out.
Here's the thing. They're breaking the law by passing these without running this through the equity check toolbox, they called it. The equity toolbox was the cute package they put together for King County to make sure communities of color were represented and treated fairly. And when the problem is, it didn't work because my contract ran out with the plumbers union.
Right.
And since the only way for this to go forward was from
Ethics.
Yeah, well, no, what's the word I'm looking for? God, a minority equity position. That was the thing.
Equity. Okay.
That was the successful way to the finish line was, minority communities, ethnic equity was the way to go forward. And the plumbers union didn't want to be paying for that. So we did all this research and we handed it over to the African American community in Seattle and the low income communities in Seattle. They're advocates.
Right.
I built a team of people from that community.
So we got distracted from, and this is, by the way, exactly what is your job.
We talked for 20 minutes about one thing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it, and you're so well informed now. It's
so
scary.
I know about gas stoves is the point here. Okay.
So are they bad for you, or can it just be mitigated with a good ceiling fan and better mitigation? Which is one of our listeners says that Mad Mac is basically.
So here's what happened. The Consumer Product Safety Commission, a federal agency, did a study that found throughout decades of history, homes with gas stoves, the children raised in those homes had a 20% greater episodes of youth asthma than kids who weren't raised in gas homes.
But you can fix that. You can fix that. I used to eat plaster off the wall. I didn't know that it was bad for me.
And I love lead paint chips and a sandwich at summertime with some Kool-Aid made with a garden hose. I'm there.
That's all in the past. Those statistics are only pointing the way to doing it correctly, right?
So the Consumer Product Safety Commission pointed this out and said perhaps we should look at ways to make gas stoves safer.
Yeah.
And never was it proposed. A ban on gas stoves was not put out in any way, shape, or form. But now the meme police have Jill Biden burning documents on a gas stove. You know, that you get all three of the, there's Dr. Jill Biden burning hidden classified documents on a gas stove.
That's a
But she
great
can have-
meme. I like that.
It's a great.
By the
it's
way,
a great meme.
we were
It's a
talking about
triple header meme.
the lack
Yeah.
of situational comedy. I forgot Veep, which is one of the smartest politics shows there is.
Great, one of the greatest shows.
But
ever.
there isn't a lot of situational comedy, and we get it now in memes. We get our jokes in 15-second clips on TikTok and Instagram.
Because our attention span isn't even 22 minutes anymore.
But
it's now 15 seconds. That's how long our attention span
Spike
is.
just gave us 8 minutes on the whole background of this natural gas thing that takes up a 40-second clip on the evening news.
Right.
And I was starting to doze off. And it's not your fault because you're
No.
you know what I'm talking about.
It's the culture we're in.
You got to punch it up a little bit.
Yeah, you gotta get a better lead.
So
Banning
all right.
gas stoves.
So is the bottom line, which is where I started, because I live in a meme culture, is the bottom line this? Yes, it's a real thing, and we just need better ventilation, and we should just make it happen.
Well, the real thing is that gas stoves do prevent a health hazard that they're now aware of, and they're going to look at.
They present a health hazard. Okay.
Yeah, they're going to look at increasing the safety of gas burning stoves to be used for families. And no one's talking about banning, which is just another divisive culture war. They're coming after your stove. So Marjorie.
Wait a minute. I thought they were going to take my stove and my guns, and they were going to have open border illegal aliens do it. Excuse me.
Well, then you're going to have to push the bullet in by hand. That's so inconvenient.
I see.
No, I know that's the fear police, coming to tell you that the woke mob is coming to take your stove, and they're really not. God forbid somebody should try to make children a little healthier.
Okay.
Michelle Obama planted a garden and they went batshit.
But here's the thing. I thought that by watching the evening news, CBS, NBC, ABC. So they're the woke mob themselves. So I still thought it just because of the abbreviated nature of news reporting.
Yeah.
Nobody reads an article anymore. And if I forward them an article, they say, I'm not subscribing to the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, or the New York Times.
Yeah.
When it's free, I'll read it. Like all the stuff that the algorithms and the artificial intelligence send my way to herd me mentally. Okay, so that was one I wanted to go over with you. Let's see if there is another one. Oh, Ed Kelly is here. Uh-oh.
President
He's
Bush is
here.
to talk about natural gas, and he's got family money in it.
So Ed is here, and I wanted him here before we bring Kermit on, but I see Ed's webcam is not working. Is it there, Ed?
It is. It is there, but it's not hooking up.
I like your new logo, man. The two little eyes and the red hair.
Ed,
That's a great branding.
I can
That's
mirror
awesome.
that too, by the way.
That's awesome branding. Look at that.
Are you having sex with a USB cord?
No.
It looks like
skull and crossbones.
Our flag means death.
All right, Ed. We're just going to go without a picture with you this week, and maybe there's some reason for it that you're not telling us. But
No, just I'm stupid. Neither of us here and I can get it done.
Before we bring on
ask Ed this, is Bob's mic crackling? Ed?
Yes.
Yes.
it is.
Yeah.
I got some problem this week. I don't know what it
I
is.
thought it was my headphone connection.
I'd have to reboot.
My head.
It's too late.
knows the troubles I've seen. Sorry.
Nobody can fix the static.
If anybody would like to invest in this show, hire.
We just
I
got a
was
new
sworn
sponsor
in 20
today.
minutes.
Finally.
That was much more of a punchline than I had hoped. Ed, you had a moral dilemma. Let's talk about that.
I did. I was pulling into work and I noticed that I was getting anxiety at the stoplight because I knew that it's such a short green arrow to the Fisher Building where the radio station is that half the time if I'm not right on the money, I get beep from behind, right? There's always a him. Here's a hint for you. Move, because this is a really short light and only 2 cars get through, 3 max, and it's yellow. So I found myself speeding into the left-hand turn. I'm just wondering if anybody else experiences this. The need to let as many people through as possible. It's stupid, but it is anxiety-inducing for me, for whatever reason.
I had a similar feeling tonight as I was running late, as always, to meet this commitment with you guys, this opportunity to share my world with you wonderful people.
Mhm.
The clam dip in front of me forgot where a gas pedal was when the arrow came on, and I too have a short green arrow. And I same thing. Do I hit the horn? Am I that guy? Am I Captain A-hole?
Well,
No.
fortunately, my horn button doesn't work, which I think leaves me legally viable for a lot of things. But it's come
Wow.
and go since they changed the airbag. That's what a service recall does.
You drive without a horn?
Well, I drive with an airbag, but the horn was fine
If I
until
had
they
to
switched
choose
out the
between a
airbag.
horn and an airbag, I would take a horn every time. I
I just,
can't imagine going out into that circus
yeah,
in a car without a horn.
yeah.
Do you have a paintball gun in your hand to let people in front
No,
of you
no.
know you need to
In
move faster?
Detroit, Spike, you don't understand. In Detroit, that's probably saved my life numerous times because one horn beep will get you,
Oh,
you know,
Big time.
oh,
road
yeah,
rage.
you're
Now we've
covered. I
lost
live in
Mike.
Seattle.
Bob, your mic is muted.
Yeah, you're muted, buddy.
Yeah. See, it says Bob with a slash
Yep.
through it. There you go.
Is it fixed now?
Seattle's the Indian
Yeah.
word for after you. No,
I think it is
you.
better.
Is it better?
Yes.
It's
Oh,
not
that
as
ticks me
bad.
off. You know what it is, Ed? It's the same thing that happens to you.
What's that? Brain damage?
Because I was using Pro Tools. The
Yeah.
two apps fight over who gets the connection. And remember how I tell you every week, well, just reboot your stupid
it
device.
down.
Shut it down and bring it back up.
Turn
And
it off and turn it back on, Ed. He never did. He says it much more.
I rebooted it and it fixed it, right? That's annoying. Okay.
Yeah.
So I missed I missed your dilemma. It had something to do with airbags.
No. It's just my anxiety over how fast I have to turn to let the other cars behind me, as many get through as possible.
Oh.
As I'm
Wow.
on my way to the radio station.
Is it an
Gosh.
unsafe speed you have to hit?
Not unsafe. It's just that I'm waiting. I'm going, geez, if I don't go as soon as this turns green, I'm going to get meep from behind.
Right. So you're feeling bad about not being a good enough citizen of traffic in
Well,
the
I'm
community.
not always the most attentive when I'm thinking about the radio show and when I'm thinking about, show prep. You're the one that I told you to keep it to us.
That's why
I'm
we
thinking-
call you.
No, bring your
Meanwhile, I'm thinking, should I shoplift these groceries because they're so expensive?
Yeah.
Isn't that justified my putting eggs in my pocket?
And,
It was all worth it.
you don't
Yeah,
think
it
it's your cannabis habit. You don't think that's it.
No, I don't at all.
Okay.
No. I don't
brain-
have a cannabis habit, Bob. I'm a wake and baker, one toker.
Daily?
No, not daily.
Okay. Twice a week?
Twice a day.
Twice a week?
No, well, generally
Every
twice.
time
When I
every
do
time
do
I
it,
wake up and pass
By the way, by the way, Ed, you are under oath.
yes, and I know that I have said before, but I have eliminated almost all of it. But
Oh.
if I do wake and bake, it's a one toe. I don't.
Maybe
do
you
one-
need it actually to be sharp.
That's there's a lot to be said.
I
about
think there could be. I wish we had research. All right.
There is a lot of research, actually.
By the way, this topic I keep wanting to bring up, and you know what? We're going to bring it up with our comment because I don't want to make Kermit wait too long. And I know Spike has an expiration date at some point. Has to go do
Yeah.
his real job. Let's see. What else did we not? Yeah, that's just boiling down what we said about the gas stoves. If you don't consider all news suspect,
You should
I-
know.
I think you're allowing yourself to be manipulated. That is not a political statement.
This hits very close to home with me.
Yeah,
Bob.
me
It
too.
really does. Because my
Ed,
sister-
you first, since you're on and you only have audio, and then we can disregard you afterwards.
again.
Yeah.
No, my sister was cleaning her stove and she turned on the pilot light or two. I came in the house. I smelled natural gas, which is, of course, imbued with rotten egg smell. So you can tell there's natural gas. I said,
Right.
Marilyn, back out of the house and I'm going to open a window. Do not turn on any lights. And that was a potentially explosive situation. The last one was when she loaded the coffee machine 2 days ago and put the coffee in the top of the machine and then proceeded to fill it with water and turned it on. And then when I came in to get my coffee, she had forgotten to put the urn underneath the coffee machine. So there was hot coffee all over the counter Yeah.
That's a hot,
So
sticky smell.
the natural gas thing, I wouldn't mind if natural gas stoves went away. It's kind of like the guy that blew up his stove, and on the way up, he meets a guy coming down. He says, "Hey, you know anything about stoves?" The guy coming down says, "No, you know anything about parachutes?" It's a dad joke. Sorry.
So you don't trust yourself around fire. You would prefer man go back to prior to fire. Prior to fire.
Yeah. Richard Pryor didn't like fire. I'll tell you that. Anyway, I don't think we should give up natural gas. I think we should make stoves safer, though.
Okay, got it. But as far as considering all news suspect,
Definitely.
okay, I've been having this debate with a friend of mine over Elon Musk. And he thinks I think Elon Musk is some kind of a genius. But what I say is the stories, the anti-Elon Musk stories, are the press piling on because of an agenda. Look, Elon Musk may be completely self-imploding and he may blow up all of his companies. He still in his lifetime did more for global warming than any human being. He became the world's richest man. He's still like number 3. And he doesn't have, he's not a one-trick pony with one company. He has the Boring Company and he has SpaceX. And SpaceX is going to be one of the biggest military contractors in the freaking world because military and space are the same. And you got to ask yourself, is there any strategy to, becoming absolutely necessity for military around the globe? I think so, maybe. And yeah.
Speaking of Boring Company, let me ask you something.
Oh, the Boring Company, the three of us. Yes, go ahead.
What a setup.
It's a gift.
Go right ahead.
I am so sorry. I think that all news is suspect after Obama last night on the White House Correspondents' Dinner said on his I was watching an old YouTube video. He said, and CNN has decided to become real journalists. So if the president himself doubts that CNN is doing journalistic duties, with credibility, who am I to question a guy like Obama?
Yeah.
Much smarter.
All right. So that's specific. I totally agree with what you just said, by the way, but I'm broadly generalizing it. Every media company is in the business
Entertaining.
of holding an audience.
Yeah.
And
Eyeballs,
through.
engagement.
Eyeballs, eardrums, doesn't matter. Holding an audience. And I
Earballs.
used to find, even back when I did it, I used to find it challenging to try and do that and still have something resembling integrity, and still try to be somewhat honest. Did I love every mattress that I did a commercial for? Most of them.
Well, we had this issue come up today because we got a new sponsor, and it was Chicken Shack. And Mitch would not have allowed them as a sponsor if he weren't an actual devotee of that franchise.
There you go. Yeah.
So
That's it. And so forgetting about even the ads, which used to wag the dog, that was the issue back when we were, when we were fab, as the Beatles would say.
Yes.
But now it's the algorithms, it's the social media that wags the dog. Because if you're CBS Evening News, you don't have to just compete with social media. You actually have to report on what it has made big. That is news. What is news is what most people are reacting to. And the major news organizations used to sort of have an agenda and make news, and they used to curate it. But now it's curated by the mob.
But it's 10-second sound bites now, and that's what everybody wants. And I think Spike will tell you that.
Thank you. We're out of time. Appreciate your thoughts,
Yeah,
Ed. That was
next
great.
topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right. Shall we bring on our headliner? We're going to have a jingle for this, but he's going to do his own jingle.
Here he comes. Here comes the comic. He's as funny as shit.
That's not bad on the spot.
And I'll tell you, this guy's kind of special to me for a couple of reasons. One, he recently invited me to a show. Actually, I invited myself, and he got me free passes. Same thing. But he's a Hawaiian. And while I don't consider myself a Hawaiian, I was also born in Hawaii.
I didn't know that.
He was one of the early comics on our show back, probably, I'm going to ask him early 90s probably, when he was young. And what's funny is that he he said he sort of cut his teeth and tried to figure out how to do radio on our show. What I didn't have the heart to tell him is we were trying to figure out how to do radio at the exact same time.
Ain't it the truth?
He's a veteran comic, which is what you say to someone you respect, and their material is great. And I saw him in Vegas like a month ago, and he had the room. But he's also he's a dad joke guy like us. You know, he's not a 30-year-old millennial on Instagram all day long. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome. And I don't think he's really in Hawaii now, but please welcome Kermit Apio. Kermit, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for me. And
Hold on, we got to get your mic up a little bit.
oh wait, hold on. Am I there?
Yep, turn it
Oh,
up
yeah.
just a hair.
Turn it up.
Okay.
You said?
Yeah, turn your mic up just a hair.
Okay, there we go. Is that better?
Perfect. Yep.
All right,
If you
thank
need any
so
backup
much for,
Kermit, I'll be here.
Thank you
Kermit,
for,
Kermit the Frog has already.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
that- So I want to tell you, thank you very much for changing your statement to you invited yourself to the show, because that was going to be an awkward moment.
Yeah,
When I said what actually happened.
I try, to be honest.
I was really glad you came, and I was so happy to have you there. And so yes, I'm glad you contacted. I'm glad you came to the show.
Well, it's funny because, you know, in the old days, we used to promote comedy. And so I would, you know, just call the guy and say, yeah, well, like, this is going to sound really stuck up. And at this age, I don't even care anymore. But I would think if I go to the show and I talk about it on the radio, it's good for the club. So, of course, they're going to want to, you know, this is why they would want us. Should I continue with this line of discussion? Anyway. But when I saw you advertising that you were going to be in Las Vegas, I was like, "Oh, Kermit, he was on with us for many times over the years." And I just said, "Hey, can you get me some tickets?" And I didn't know it's this huge comedy club that charges, you know, $800 a ticket at the MGM. I'm exaggerating, but I didn't know, like, and it was a big deal. And anyway, I'm grateful. It's the first free thing I've gotten since moving to Vegas.
Because he's tight for crap.
And the show was great. And Kristen Key, the headliner, turns out to have also been on our show many times. Remember her? She's the funny song singing lesbian. She's fantastic.
Yep.
And Kermit, she did this bit about Hawaii, and Kermit is Hawaiian, and we had just got back from Hawaii. It was fantastic. Now, are you at Waikiki right now?
Well, when we soundchecked, you made a big deal about my green screen, that I have one, and none of you using a green screen. It's like you hung me out here on this. I feel like,
That's okay.
you know what I mean? I feel like it's one of those where you tell all your friends, "Hey, tomorrow we're going to wear funny hats," and then none of you wore a funny hat to school. I'm that guy today.
Get that.
I like that.
Well, it is
So-
good to
so
see you.
I want to tell you, this is my. I'm from an area called Eva Beach, and it's not really on a lot of tourist brochures. It's more of a local area. And so this is a view from Eva Beach where you could actually see town. And so Waikiki and Honolulu were like a world away for us when I was growing up. And so this view is a view because I remember looking at the city going, wow, that's where the city people live.
That's literally your home screen right there.
yeah.
It's wild. Is that is Waikiki in the background though? It's just
Yep.
far away.
Yep.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
Diamond Head on the easy.
Were you born in a Tripler hospital like me and President Obama?
I was
Or
not.
were you in-
I was
You
not
were born in the
same
backyard
hospital.
in a
Yeah.
He was born on that third rock to his right shoulder there.
yeah. So you
Very
were
traditional, Bob.
yeah.
Hey, Kermit, did Bob come to the early bird show at least? Did he have a decency to get an early bird ticket and not put out a real paying customer from the Prime
Well,
show? Or?
Bob is a target market. That club only does one show a night, and it's at 8:00.
That's right.
So yeah, Bob is who they're looking for.
Welcome to the pudding room, everybody.
But I also want to say, so when Bob says that I did the show many times, that's actually a very friendly way to put it, because I did the show once, and then there was a long time before again, and then I did it a few more times. So
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say you didn't do well the first time, and that had something to do with why there was a long time.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm saying. And no, and it's on me. You guys were great, but like you had mentioned. So I won the Seattle Comedy Competition '91, and I'll tell you right now, I had no business winning it. It was one of those lucky things. Put it this way. when you won the competition, you would headline a weekend at the Comedy Underground, which put on the
remember.
competition, right? I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
remember
yeah.
that. So in
Sure.
December, you'd headline a weekend. Well, I emceed the Comedy Underground in May, won the competition November, and had to headline it. I never middled the Underground, which is something people do for years while they try and learn how to headline, right? I never.
You're referring
I
to
had
my
go
son
from-
Andrew as the
Hey, no
middle for
names,
years.
no names, no
Yeah,
names.
no
Come on.
names. Yeah.
Friendly, it's a friendly meeting.
I mean everybody, but they were forced to headline me, even though the last time I had done I was doing 15 minutes, and now they were forced because I won the competition to give me 45 minutes, and it was comedic, and so there was no way anybody thought I was going to win. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this. Back then, the finals of the competition was one night. It was in the old Seattle Opera House, right? It was like a big show, one night. It was a big deal. After I won, the finals increased the amount of nights. Now there's 5 nights of finals because they're never going to lightning get caught in a bottle. There's no way they're going to let that happen again. If you're going to win, you're going to have to take first or second for at least 2 to 3 nights. So
here's what I remember. I don't remember. I don't.
You
This is so-
killed.
It's so refreshing to be able to be honest on the radio here. You know, like I don't remember your first time, but I remember it in the sense that we were all kids, and then I just remember. And you may be right. We may have said, well, should we let him back on again? Well, he just won the Seattle comedy competition. We have to. And then you became a regular. And we're always very funny. You still live in Seattle.
I do still live in Seattle. But hey, going back to what this, I do want to say that. So,
Yes.
doing radio as a comedian, when you're a comedian guest, it's something that needs to be learned. But nobody is going to teach you how to do it. There's no
There's no
class. There's
school.
no right. You think I'm just going to go up there. I'll give them a few questions to set me up in bits, and it's going to go great. But that's really not how it works. I mean, yeah, you want to do some of your bits. You want to be funny, but if I give you a question so obviously setting up a bit, it makes you look bad, right? And you guys knew that. You guys were just being yourselves and
So
kind of
Kermit, how about that gas stove band? And go.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think we lost Zip.
Exactly. Like you know, I'm not going to. You just can't just hand someone a paper, especially someone who's, this show that tons of people listen to is very well known. You guys are going to look at a piece of paper and go, "So, what kind of pants you like, Kermit?" You know what I mean? It's like, and so I didn't know how to do it. So it did not go well. As a matter of fact, I wish I could remember the line. And I realize you guys are going to remember this because you interviewed thousands of comics. But I do because it was my first time on a show that I actually, I listened to in the morning. I loved it. And so, but Spike, you hammered me. Towards the end of it, you got me. And I wish I could remember the line. But it was really funny. But at the time, hurt my feelings, man.
Oh, buddy,
It was
I
like-
apologize. So genuinely apologize.
No.
Oh my
There's
God.
no reason to apologize because look, the minute I walk out of there, you guys still have a show to do. So you can't jump on the sinking ship because I seem like a nice kid. You know what I mean?
But he doesn't have to toss a cement block onto your barge
Oh
either.
no way! Because he made his fans laugh, and they came back after commercial. That was what was important at the moment, right? And
That's
I
your job,
realize that
Spike.
now. Yeah, and I realize
was.
that now. But I just felt like I'm never going to be on that show again. And it actually did take a few years. But I'm thankful for the opportunity because eventually you learn how to work
Right.
material in or not do it. If it's not working that day, if you guys are talking about something, I have nothing in my act. I just want to be funny about that. But at the time,
Yeah.
I was 23 and just won a competition I had no business winning, just headlined a club I had no business headlining, and then I was on a radio show I had no business being on.
In over his head
So that's
all
all.
around.
Yeah. Let me say something about that because this is very interesting. Because when I hear a story like this, or even when Kristen came up and said she was a huge fan of the show and her and her dad listened to Twisted Christmas songs every Christmas, you should know that on the other side, and I think I'm speaking for Spike too, and if I am not, I'll just steamroll over him and then he'll steamroll back over me. But there's insecurity on all sides. No matter, you think that the person with the most experience maybe has real confidence, but at each moment in show business, and I don't know if this is the same stand-up comedy, because you and my son Andrew have something that I wish I had, which is you project all the confidence in the world to be standing up there all by yourself. I can't even do this podcast unless Zip, at least Zip.
There. Zip at the
Please,
minimum.
Spike, come on. I need a support group around me. Okay. And so one of the things early on in the incarnations of our show that we did repeatedly, by the way, because we were young, dumb, and full of vinegar. And we knew that we had to act like we knew what we were doing. But frequently, I would find out later that I had really offended someone or hurt their feelings and didn't mean to. I was just trying to be a wise ass in the moment. And again, I may be speaking for Spike, but his face says yes.
You know me, I'm a puss. I got no backbone to insult somebody with skills. God, no. If I insulted you first, it was an accident. If it made people laugh, that was also an accident. So.
But here's the thing I want to get to, and it's the magic that happens. After you, and whether you're in your world, stand-up comic up there on stage by yourself, or you're in ours playing in what amounts to a band where you're riffing off of each other.
Right.
After you get a couple of 10,000 hours of experience, you do it intellectually smarter, so you don't create as much human roadkill along the way.
Ouch. And I have been one of your squirrels.
Yes, I know. And so that's what I was thinking when you told me that story was, oh, we hurt this kid's feelings that day. Oh, that was a screw up on my part. But you, because you had a positive attitude, you were like, and by the way, Andrew did this too. This is just a step along the road I have to take to begin good.
That's right.
Which isn't that positive attitude the right attitude for everyone to have when they're just getting started?
Well, but it's for me, I don't know if it's a positive attitude. I think look, I always felt lucky to be in comedy. When I quit my day job, I thought it was my, you know how people back through Europe? I thought I was just going to do 2 years of, I'll always have that story. Hey, I was a professional comedian. And then at 25, I'll get a job and grow up. It was never like, I never thought like, I'm just going to keep plowing through and learn from my mistakes. It really was that I loved being around comedians. They were amazing people. And you know, we all realized that none of us would be hanging around if it wasn't for comedy. We all love this thing. And so we had, you know, athletes and nerds and musicians who just didn't have a lot in common but this one thing. So I like being around comedy. And then the other thing was I hate mornings. I didn't want, like, I don't have to set an alarm. That's it. That was to me, like, you know, so me not doing well on your show, you know, it wasn't like I'm going to get them next time. My whole thing was I want to try and be able to at least tread water in these things so they'll bring me back, you know. And I don't know if it was like this it really isn't. So much of what I do is the worry about failure. It's just I just didn't want to screw it up.
Go ahead, Ed. Yeah.
No, this is God. Perhaps you saw me when I played the Jim Carrey. I just want you to know that you have been blessed. You did not become Carrot Top. You are not a prop comic. Give God his props.
Give God his props. Wow. So, how long ago was that, Kermit? Was that the early 90s?
91, 92, you said, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I won in November of 91. And and I did Almost Live, the TV show, on New Year's Eve of 91 because of the competition. I wasn't ready for that either. But the good thing about Almost Live is that I did the show live a few times. I did like little 5-minute sets around the city, so they got to see what I was going to do. It was different doing it with you guys. So with you guys, it was probably, I would say, somewhere between January and March of 92.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So 30 years. And here's a little funny. While I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm like, well, this is a great conversation. And I'm like, I asked him to send me some talking points so I could set him up for some of his jokes, and he didn't email them to I was like, no.
And sitting in the wings, Craig Gass, ladies and gentlemen.
I forgot completely, but
no, that's okay because
each other a long time.
It would have ruined. Yeah, it would have ruined actually the whole real thing. So now I'm going to just say, tell us a little bit about your life now. You, unlike my son, you have a wife and kids.
Yes, I do.
You have responsibilities. in the
like,
real
"Kid's a
world.
loser, but you've got a real life. More.
He knows.
I have a question for you, Kermit, but I'm going to put it in context that really jabs my son.
Yeah. Well, we roadkill each other all the time. It's actually
Yeah.
kind of fun for us. And to that angle, how do your kids feel about what you do for a living?
You know, I think they actually, early on, they got amazingly positive feedback from friends. I think they worried that friends would kind of roll their eyes because, like you said earlier, I'm not the new style of comedy. You know, sure, I try and evolve. I want to exist in whatever comedy is now. But ultimately, if I really try and do what the 20-something comics are going to do, I'm look like an idiot, right? You know, the 55-year-old trying to be hip.
Right,
And,
yeah.
and because I even used the word hip in 2023, like that's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering if they would, but my friend or their friends pretty much always thought it was cool. And like when my Dry Bar special came out, one of my son's friends texted him and said, my family just watched your dad's special. And that was really kind of a cool thing for them. So yeah, I think they like it, and also they've gotten to travel a bit, you know, and see things that it was kind of cool to be able to take them along. You know,
Do you get to bring them, like if you do a cruise, do you get to bring your family?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't been doing a lot because once they hit high school, there's just no time in there. But
Right.
Yes, when they were younger, I took them on cruises, and we've done a lot of stuff. When I saw you in Vegas, my daughter flew down 2 days later when school went on break. She flew down, and we got to hang out in Vegas for a couple of days. So yeah, it's really great to be able to take the family around.
What's your geographical territory? I mean, I feel like every comic has it. Like someone will be big on the East Coast, someone will focus on the West Coast. Like Andrew will say he could make more bread on the West Coast, but he wants to, you know, branch out into other areas. But other comics, when they get, you know, families and all of that, they've got to sort of balance career and real life. So do you travel?
Yeah,
mostly?
Well, I don't think it's so much a regional thing. Now, I will say this: I do pretty well in the Midwest. It just, well, you know, because I mean, look, this guy's from a place where they see the sun. That's exotic, right? You know, and you know, I'm very
Do you
pro
bring-
pie in my act, so that you know, there's. Oh, is that Spike?
Do you bring your life? I mean, you don't try to tailor your material to where you are, do you? I mean, you don't. Do you Midwest up your act a little bit, or you're always you
No,
and bringing your world into theirs?
What I do is both. I learn about their life. It's fish out of water, which is really easy comedy. I mean, look, I don't do it as much anymore. When I first started doing Minnesota and Wisconsin, the first 8 to 10 minutes would be about the weather and a Hawaiian in the weather, right? You know, like, you know, I would just open up and say, hey, you know, I'm so happy to be here, and I know that when they booked me, they said, hey, let's bring the Hawaiian guy here in January, and they laughed and high-fived, and it sets up this whole thing.
Sunshine.
And, so I do kind of both. I let them know that I know where I am, but I do it in a way that here's a Hawaiian over here, and just easy sort of juxtapositions, like here I am visiting them, but it's not it, and I know a lot of them visit home, but I realize not many of us visit you here, right? I mean,
Kermit,
there's these sort of easy premises to switch around.
Do you sell spam in the lobby at these shows just to
That's an ass.
like bring a hot plate?
Here come the Hawaii references.
Well,
So sorry.
funny you should ask that, because one time I was doing the club in Minneapolis, which is just a great club. It's one of the best clubs in the
Yes.
country. And they told me, they said, hey, you know, the spam factory is in Austin. It's about 2 hours away. And I said, yeah, I absolutely know about that, because every day at 5 o'clock, Hawaiians turn towards that direction.
Mecca for Hawaii. I love it.
That must have brought the room down.
May I read one of your? Oh, go ahead. Finish. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to read one of your posts on social media that I thought was
Okay.
pretty good and perhaps a topic for discussion with the group. This is how I know I like this guy. He goes, it's Kermit at PO. Seeing all the talk about who will fill the NFL head coaching vacancies, there's something similar about all the candidates mentioned. Maybe I'll figure it out later, but I can't quite pinpoint it right now.
It's true, though. That is very true.
Wow.
You know, I had the.
you went,
yeah,
go ahead,
Yeah.
Spike.
He did it.
I had the hardest time believing that the NFL would actually not pick the best candidate because of the color of their skin. I thought that seems to be the most foreign concept because it's all about winning. It's all about results in the NFL. And so why, if there was a qualified guy, why wouldn't they take a black gentleman as opposed to a white guy? And it made no sense to me. And I had somebody who's been in football in the NFL explain it to me. Your coach has to deal with ownership. It's not just about winning. It's about the community that they deal with sponsors and advertisers and everything else. And it's not that the African American candidate couldn't do the job. It's that the community he would have to interact with would be ready for him to, and they're not ready yet. So there is legitimate racial bias in coaching because they have to make these considerations. It's not just about wins and losses on the field. It's
Now,
about your community being able to interact with your coach.
This was someone telling you this who was giving it as an opinion. It wasn't. It hasn't been an official press release from the NFL explaining
No, that's not an official press release. That wasn't from Goodell's office. No.
Okay.
But this is a guy who played in the NFL for a long time.
But
He's been around the league ever since.
But here's what I'll say about that. We're all of us enough to remember all the things they said about the difficulty of having black quarterbacks. That boy, they deal with a whole nother situation in football. There's like another mental level that we don't know that black athletes really have. So we've heard a lot of these things, and I get it, man. Look, all right, I'm gonna tell you guys a story. I cannot say any names, but a friend of mine was an athlete at a big college. And so he had a lot of friends who went on to play in the NFL and coach. And one of his friends went to two teams, became head of player development for one team that was doing really well. Had an interview on the West with the team, was very excited because it was a really good position. And they flew him out there. The president, like you said, the president, the guy who runs the thing, right? Comes in with two newspapers and sits there and starts reading the paper. My friend's friend said, after about 10 minutes of this, says, "Would you like to start the interview?" And he said, "Nope, I just have to have you here for a certain amount of time. I'm just going to read my paper." He read the paper, and he said, "All right, Rooney Rule done," and he papered on and left. And that was this guy's interview. So, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Those 32, a good chunk of them owners, man, they have their very old school way of looking at things. Yep. But I really feel like, look, we did it for quarterbacks, and now the game is better because of black quarterbacks. The black quarterbacks have made the game better, and so that would be my boy. I just brought things down, didn't I? We
This is okay.
Excuse me, Kermit, Matt Stafford. I beg to differ. Just kidding.
It's an awesome conversation, and a few things that I did not know, and because I'm not into the granular analysis of these, especially teams' decisions on management or players. I don't wake up like Joe does on draft day, all excited. So it's fascinating, and it's in a way it's good that sports lets us talk about this stuff because giant corporate boardrooms have all of these same issues. But you're never gonna. They're not in the public eye the way the NFL is, right?
Yeah, and sports and music.
Music, exactly. I had a conversation with my producer. First couple of months I was doing this show, the amount of social equity that music has delivered to this civilization cannot be measured. Yep. Music has broken down more walls, and sports is right on its heels. And because those are things everybody can relate to and enjoy at the core of their soul. It doesn't matter if someone's making you happy with their music or their sport. It doesn't matter the color of their skin.
And that was Frank Sinatra's attitude. And
I didn't see it with a lot of sisters, though. I got to tell you, over the years.
Well, and I will say this on let me be a cheerleader. Three of the top 5 acts out there are Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle, and who was I think?
Shaq. Shaq's funny. Come on,
Shaq
I see.
Tour.
Bing Rames is opening up. We have the meat.
Yeah, comedy, and at one point, Amy Schumer was one of the top acts. So there's a lot of comedy seems to have the same thing, where people sort of connect on another level, and it's really been fun to watch.
All right, lightning round. We have a couple quick topics, and then we're going to be done in about 2-3 minutes. So
Okay.
I want to get everybody on these two things. The first one is this: classified documents. I have a thought, and then I'll open it up. First off, I don't think anyone cares about classified documents,
No.
the rank and file people, because we're never going to see them. We don't know what's in them, and so it's always going to be this mystery. But I have a surefire solution on how to prevent this problem from ever happening again. You want to know what it is?
Kill the president on his way out of office. I'm not suggesting. I'm just
Yeah.
guessing.
I almost did a spit take. That was-
Thank you.
You can do that. It's a green screen. It wipes off.
I shouldn't have asked that question because no one wants my opinion. All right.
No.
No.
Okay.
Spike, go ahead. You got the floor.
No, I want to go
Let-
last, like in a
Okay.
porn. I want to go
Yeah,
last.
he does very good last.
Yeah. You put
Can
the
we
button
stop electing 70 and 80-year-olds? When I
No.
think of these documents, I don't think that either president said, I'm going to smuggle these secrets to my private lair, and then I'm going to sell them or disregard them, and somehow they'll get into enemy hands. There's no treason here. There's simply, I can't wait to see my Corvette this weekend.
You just put Spike on simmer. You know that, right?
I do. There's, and nobody cares. So I think this is a distraction from the really big stories, which no one wants to talk about. And no one is more thrilled than me that Biden did this too. No one is more thrilled than me because I am. Yeah, look at Spike. I am a radical centrist, and anytime the political dialogue is it takes all the oxygen out of a room like a gas stove set on high with the windows closed. I go, well, what about the important stuff? And so for me, this is so hilarious and nothing. It's a nothing burger. All right,
Zip,
everybody
will you
else gets a
please be
comment. Spike wants to go last.
No, I will go last.
Yes, Zip.
No, I think, the job is impossible to begin with. And with that much paperwork, the crap that I've got in my menial little life, it is. I agree. It's a totally ridiculous discussion.
And by the way, I would for every future president, I would appoint a czar of top secret documents whose sole job it was to make sure this never happens again. And if it does, off with his head, old-fashioned style.
I don't like
And then, yeah,
that was the one thing that I heard in a discussion today is that you would have thought that the Biden, officials would have immediately said, "Hey, do we have any loose documents around? Let's clean up that."
No,
Yes.
hey, do we have any loose women around? I don't like this keeping a guest log thing at my private residence. I don't think that's a good idea at all.
all right, Kermit, what do you say?
I just say whatever the law is, just apply it both ways. So, however you're not going to charge the first guy that did it, not charge the second guy the same way.
Love it. Done. 10 seconds. That's the rule of social media right there. 10-second solution.
All right, I like it.
Spike, you're up.
Okay. It's not the crime. It's the cover up. It's always the worst case, right?
Yeah.
The cover up's always worse than the crime. I can believe that Trump would take shit home with how can I use this?
How can I use this to open a hotel and a resort and a golf course? Yeah.
What oligarch do I owe tens of millions of dollars to? Like Junior said on TV, we borrow all our money from Russia. What can I give him to clean the books? But be that as it may.
Yeah. You're being generous with strategy points there, I think.
I think
Go ahead.
Biden is just too old to know what's in the glove box of his Corvette.
That's right.
Whether it's classified or a road flare. Or
High five, my friend. High five, everybody.
But Dave Chappelle put it best. Because I've stolen a lot of things from my work. I've stolen paper clips. I've stolen staplers. You know what I've never stolen from work? Work. He's didn't do any work at work. He's going to take work home and do work at home. I don't think so.
Right.
All right.
But like you made a good point. Like there might be a chance that Biden just thought they were good papers to put under the Corvette during the oil change. You know what I mean? Just kind of thought, this would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's
Good line.
That's going to do it for us. That's all the time we have. I have one more topic, but I'm postponing it for a second week till next week. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Sorry about my crackly mic. We're going to get our staff right on it. If you'd like to help out the podcast to maybe hire someone to fix stuff, you can go to Patreon.
Kermit's got a green screen. We can't get a microphone that works.
I know.
It's not that easy. Greening screen.
Patreon.com/Bob Rivers for the tip jar. We do appreciate that. You can email us anytime, show@bobandzip.com. And we're shooting for once a week. And if you join our mailing list at bobrivers.com, we'll make sure we let you know when we're trying to be on. We're usually a few minutes late. We would love to have you here.
Kermit, where are you playing? Where are you performing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you can see Kermit at the Comedy Underground. He's just won the Seattle Comedy Competition. Where are you?
I'll be. Thanks for mentioning that, Spike. I'll be at the Carco Theater in Renton on the later in February, and the last weekend of February, I'm at Club Comedy, which is a really cool comedy club on Capitol Hill.
He glanced to the left. What did you do? Read it from the sand?
Well, I'm trying to-
It's in a bottle.
Yeah. Oh, now you're going to take us out with a song, right, Kermit? You're going to sing a Hawaiian song, or do you want to not?
It have anything that was that short, so we'll maybe do it another time when you have more
All
time.
right.
So
Sure. Kermit,
This is Don Ho. I'll do Tiny Bubbles if you want.
oh my
Okay,
God,
I'm out. I have to go to work. Bye, guys. If
bye-bye.
he's singing, I'm leaving.
All right. Take care, everybody. Back next week will be a Monday night next week instead of Tuesday night. Thanks.
The Bob and Zip Show.